Hello everybody, hello, welcome to the Robot Rampage stream. How was everybody's holidays? How does everybody's Christmas? Did you guys have a good Christmas and holidays? Yeah, Merry Christmas everybody. Merry day after Christmas. I personally had a wonderful Christmas. It was very simple, but it was very relaxing and nice. And I mostly got clothes, but in 2020, I am okay with that. So, welcome to week 14 of the Robot Rampage stream. The Robot Rampage League. We had some interesting things happen last week. Of note, the Armchair Engineers not only got their first match win of the season, it was a complete and total shutout of Valley View Robotics Club. And that included their super heavyweight Smashy McSmashface getting its first win. It went 0-12 and then finally won. And it was an amazing stream, and you guys should go back and watch it because it was beautiful. Also worth pointing out, on the sort of on the bottom right, the Orlando Commandos have now lead the league in the number of draws that they've had. This is their 5th draw. Bonus points are given out. There's a bonus point every time you win a match. Orlando's missed out on 5 bonus points for not winning these matches, which could impact their seeding for the playoffs. We do have stepladder playoffs, so the seeding actually matters because 4th place is going to fight 3rd place, then the winner of that fights 2nd place, and the winner of that fights 1st place. So being in 1st place is a really big advantage in the playoffs. As far as judges' decisions, they were pretty straightforward. Jinx now has 6 judges' decisions on the season, which I think either ties or is very close to Vacuity in terms of the most in the league. But the standings are the important one because Heavy Metal Robotics has taken over the lead in Division 1. And that's notable because HIVE has led Division 1 since the beginning of the league, since the beginning of the season. Division 2's kind of seen teams in and out of the lead as they fluctuated because they're all really close in points, but HIVE has dominated Division 1 until last week. So, we could see some really interesting playoffs as a result of this if HIVE is not able to recapture that lead. Especially in Division 2 where we've got 5 teams that are all within 10 points of each other. We could get some really interesting playoffs. Of course, big story is our match between Meta Bot Builders and the C Team. 1 and 2 in Division 2. They have undefeated middleweights who have gone 13 wins and 0 losses. And they're fighting each other. There's only going to be 1 undefeated robot after this week. This is going to be really cool. So, let's get the game open. That's not the button that I want. I still don't know which buttons that I want. We start off, as in every week except for one, with Stormlab. And they are facing the Moscow Mantines. How do we think this one's going to go? We have Firestarter, the asymmetric horizontal spinner, who's not invertible but can self-right, and we have Hailstorm 4, the front-hinged flipper. Predictions for this fight, please. While you guys are all predicting, welcome to the stream to Mobris and Razor259 and Quora and Typhoon Robotics and Nightmare 27, and I saw a bunch of other new names in there that I haven't seen before. Welcome everybody. We are going to get this fight between Firestarter and Hailstorm going in just a second here. The chat actually seems pretty split on who will win. So let's just get it started and find out. First fight of the stream. Firestarter up to speed. It just fell over colliding with Hailstorm. I wasn't expecting that one. Hailstorm threw itself upside down, though. Firestarters corrected it. And now Hailstorm's going to try and flip Firestarter with that front hinge flipper. Firestarter's doing a lot of damage to Hailstorm's side. Hailstorm almost getting Firestarter over, but not able to do so. Look at the damage to both of them so far. Ooh, that's a control board hit on Firestarter. Hailstorm doing a lot of damage here, and Firestarter's now upside down, trying to self-right. Hailstorm's just bullying Firestarter right now. Push it over to the wall, and then get another control board hit, but Firestarter's gotten a good hit. Now they're kind of locked together at the moment. You're approaching the middle point of this fight. Ooh! Hailstorm's on control board hits. This could come down to who gets the next hit. I don't think Hailstorm has the drive power to get under anymore. Had to break a TKO count, but that's the KO shot with 121 left. Wow, that was really close. That came down to the next big shot won that fight. Very good effort by Hailstorm, but not quite enough for Firestarter. So let's move on to the middleweights, where I think Moscow may have the advantage here. We have Sludge against OMG, its Dollar Store Razor. Sludge, invertible four-wheel drive rammer, which is way too aggressively driven. OMG, its Dollar Store Razor, has an overhead claw and a rear-hinged lifting arm, and they kind of bite together. What are the predictions for Sludge against OMG, its Dollar Store Razor? Razor does have a good wedge, and Sludge doesn't like wedges. Razor because wedge. All I want for Xmas is a Sludge Fest. It would be pretty cool if we got another Sludge Fest. I think that's 4 or 5 times that Sludge has thrown itself over or been thrown over the wall so far this season. Chat seems to be leaning in favor of Razor. So let's see if Razor has what it takes to stop Sludge, or if Sludge can take that claw off and stay in the ring. And the answer is no. So that is Razor's second ring out, I believe. And that is our Sludge Fest, our mandatory Sludge Fest for the stream. Merry Christmas, everybody. That gives Moscow 2 points for the ring out, so they are currently down 3 points to 2 because they had a ring out and Stormlab had a KO. So we move to the heavyweight division. Keith says, "What happened? I blinked." Yeah, don't ever blink during a Sludge match because he will do lots of crazy things. That's the 6th time Sludge has been rung out. That may be a weak spot for Sludge. So, heavyweight time. Stormlab has Microburst, which has 6 or 7 pneumatic spike pistons. Tougher Than Nails is on Moscow Mantines. It has these 4 kind of crushing sledgehammers that are hinged from the side. Tougher Than Nails is invertible. Microburst is not. I don't know if it's going to come down to invertibility in this fight, but what are your predictions for this fight? Where's Spearmint? Spearmint is on Meta, and Meta versus C-Team is our 4th match of the stream. So that'll be a little bit further into the stream. At first, most people were going for Microburst, and now they're kind of going for Tougher Than Nails. Hello, Rookie K13, I saw you there. Let's find out who wins here. Tougher Than Nails has been tougher than a lot of robots have expected. So let's see how it does. Microburst, not able to get to the chassis. I think it only got a glancing blow to the chassis. But it has pushed Tougher Than Nails back into the grinder. And that is going to do a lot of damage. And now I think Microburst is able to get to the chassis. In fact, this is going to be a quick KO. Unless Tougher Than Nails can get away from there, which it has. Microburst has lost a number of spikes. There goes one of the lower sledgehammers. Microburst getting to that chassis now. And that's a KO. 37 seconds. And that actually wins the match for Stormlab because that gives them 6 points, and the most points Moscow can get in this next fight is 3, and that would give them 5. So Stormlab has won the match. Can Moscow get some points back here and at least get a halfway decent number of points? So, for the super heavyweights, Stormlab has Oregano, a double vertical hammer spinner, which is kind of top heavy and not very fast. Moscow has Falcon Punch, a sit and spin robot, which will spin in place and do damage that way. It is invertible. It's also not that fast in a straight line. Predictions. Potential fight of the week contender, Burnout says. We will see. Oregano brings a lot of hitting power, but those hammers have been really fragile, surprisingly fragile. So we will see what happens here. A lot of people leaning towards Falcon Punch for this one. Let's see how Falcon Punch does. Oregano up to speed and coming in. Got a hit on the chassis to start, but now Falcon Punch is up to speed. Ooh, it might be able to gyro Oregano over, or just get under it anyway because it destabilized it, knocking a hammer off. So I think one of the fists has come off of Falcon Punch. But Oregano's got it stopped and corralled into the corner with the grinder. And it is knocking lots of these fists off. Oregano's lost all the hammers on the right side disc, I think, or maybe it still has one left. Well, it's only got one hammer left total now. And Falcon Punch is pounding away at those defensive stabilizing spikes. It's lost a number of the fists now, though. Now Oregano, without most of those without some of those stabilizing spikes on the front, unable to really wedge terribly well. But it keeps knocking fists off. Falcon Punch down to just a few. And Oregano does still have those defensive spikes around its wheels. Be interesting if any of those spikes get into Falcon Punch's wheels here. Well, there's, what, 3 fists remaining? I think. But now Falcon Punch should be able to get to Oregano's chassis. Now, into the second half of this fight. And Falcon Punch is not doing the kind of damage that we expected from it, but Oregano is super unstable now without all those front attachments. Oh no, not the AI! We knew it was a possibility. And that is going to be a TKO. That is a sit and spin AI TKO there. Falcon Punch just not able to move quickly enough to get away from that spot before a count started, and Oregano positioned itself perfectly. Disappointing ending to what was a good fight. But that is 2 points to Stormlab. Is that only like the second time that Falcon has fallen prey to the AI before? It might be. Falcon Punch has been pretty immune to the AI issues. But that is an 8-2 win for Stormlab. And we move on to our second match. Sinister Creations against Eeveeon. This is why I'll not be entering a sit and spin bot. Well, we should have new AI modes that work better next season. Hopefully. We'll find out if I can get it working. So, Sinister Creations versus Eeveeon. Sinister has Overheat, a front-hinged flipper. Team Eeveeon has Qurbnalob, which is a vertical spinner that spins downwards and traps the opponent against the wedge. Qurbnalob is known for falling over and losing by TKO quite a bit. So, predictions for Overheat and Qurbnalob. Everybody in chat going for Overheat. I don't blame them. Qurbnalob has been known to fall over at the slightest breath of wind. Well, let's see what Qurbnalob's got. Ooh, Qurbnalob landed a hit to the top of Overheat, and Overheat punished it. Flipped it over. It's brought it over to the grinder. Something came flying off. Oh no, Overheat, what have you done? You've lost a wheel to the grinder. Why have you done that? Poor driving from Overheat, and now Qurbnalob has gotten back up as a result. It does not have the wedge to take on Overheat from the front, though. However, it can trip over itself and hit Overheat from the top sometimes. It's got Overheat against the grinder, doing a lot of damage that way. Oh, I think Qurbnalob's lost a spike off of its disc is what's happened. And that is a KO in 52 seconds. So Sinister Creations were getting greedy, trying to get the 3 points instead of the easy 2, and Eeveeon made them pay the price for it. Sinister Creations did fall to 5th for a while. They've moved back up into a playoff spot in 4th, but they needed the points and they got greedy and lost the fight as a result. Schizerhausen? I'm going to assume that somebody else knows what that means, because I don't. So, middleweight time. Sinister Creations has Cycloid, 2 Warpick-style side-hinged axes. Team Eeveeon has Spinning Cage of Death, which is a 360-degree cage spinner. Spinning Cage of Death is not invertible. Cycloid is. I don't predict either one of them are going to have issues with that in this fight. What are your predictions, though? Overheat was overconfident. This is true. Most of chat seems to be leaning towards Cycloid for here. A few going for Spinning Cage of Death. We will see how it goes. Snowing Steak says he's going with Spinning Cage of Death specifically because it's the unpopular choice. You may be onto something here. Well, it looks like Cycloid's got Spinning Cage of Death stopped and trapped against the wall, and it's ripped one of the weapons off of it already. Spinning Cage of Death did land some shots to, or at least one shot to... Oh, it took a whole axe off. I was about to say it landed some shots to Cycloid's chassis, but now it's taken the left side axe right off, but Cycloid's retaliated by taking off the left side wheel. And scoring the KO in 31 seconds. And so just like that, Sinister has come back to tie the match at 3 points apiece. And we move on to the heavyweights, where we may have some sit and spin AI shenanigans. The cylindrical bot looks like Gigabyte with diabetes. I mean, full body spinners used to look like that. They used to be tuna can spinners. So, heavyweight time, we have Omnipresence, a sit and spin flail whack bot. That's invertible. Team Eeveeon has Spike 6, which is a double front hinged flipper. Predictions for Omnipresence and Spike 6. Most of the chat going for Omnipresence. Omnipresence definitely does have the weapon power advantage here, but it has sit and spin AI, and that's an issue. Should be a bowling themed robot next season. If somebody wants to build a bowling themed robot, go for it. I only have so many teams that I can submit myself next season, so I probably won't be able to do it. Spike 6 gets straight under Omnipresence and is attacking the front of it. It's got it up against the wall. And Omnipresence is not getting a chance to get up to speed at all. Spike 6 doing a very good job controlling this one and keeping its lifting arms protected. And in fact, it has straight up killed Omnipresence in 20 seconds. That was a very fast and very well executed match by Spike 6. My wife is swinging a hammer at things. I'm scared. I did not expect Spike 6 to stay under Omnipresence that well. Every other time I've seen Omnipresence fight, as soon as any of the sit and spins, as soon as they get away and they get spinning, they just knock the other robot out of the way and they never have a chance to get under it again. And Spike 6 just effortlessly stayed under it, and very efficient fight. And that puts Eeveeon up 6-3. So Sinister needs a KO to tie the match in the super heavyweights. Eeveeon is what, Team 9? So, super heavyweights, we have Rabid Fox for Sinister Creations, 4 vertical spinners. Eeveeon has Blood Eagle with a massive battering ram and protected sides with those wings made out of spikes. Blood Eagle's invertible, Rabid Fox is not, but Rabid Fox does most of its damage while it's upside down. So, predictions for Rabid, Fox, and Blood Eagle. Spike 7 next season. I mean, I was not planning on bringing Spike 6 back, but we could get an upgraded Spike 7 maybe. It's possible. Most people in chat going with Blood Eagle for this one. Rabid Fox has surprised us. We'll see how this goes. And Rabid Fox has fallen over immediately after minor contact. And Blood Eagle almost doesn't even know what to do about it. It's actually being very smart staying out of the way of those spinning discs. And in fact, Rapid Fox is going to get a TKO count here. Normally, we're used to the Rambots being extremely aggressive, but this was a very tactical approach from Blood Eagle here to get the 2 points. Normally, we're used to Blood Eagle doing about 100 times more damage than this, but points are points, and that gives Eeveeon the 8-3 win over Sinister Creations, who was formerly one of the top teams in the league. So that is a really good win for Eeveeon there. I think Blood Eagle has BattleBots floor issues. Yeah, some of the Rambots particularly have floor issues. I saw earlier Ozan said, can you cheese the tournament with a box that has blah, 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 blah. No, you cannot cheese the tournament. We have pretty strict build rules for this. And even if things do meet the build rules for Season 2, we are going to be subjecting robots to an OP check to make sure robots are not ridiculously overpowered. Because we want our fights to be entertaining, not 20 seconds of, you know, not a whole lot happening. So we're going to move on to our third match, which is the Valley View Robotics Club against the Kinetic Creatures. Valley View Robotics Club has Overvolter, which has this spiked axe. Kinetic Creatures has Steel Dragon, which has 2 vertically oriented saw blades. We consider saw blade spinners to be different weapon types to most other kinds of spinners because saw blades do low amounts of damage over time rather than a whole lot of damage in big hits. So, predictions for Overvolter and Steel Dragon. Burnout is inclined to boo the shit out of Valley View because they got shut out by the Armchair Engineers last week. What about 2 horizontal spinners, one on top of the other? If you can manage to do that without clipping parts through each other, then I would love to see it. But that sounds like a lot of part clipping is going to be involved. Let's go with this third match and get it underway. Ooh, Valley View landing some blows to those saw blades to start, but going right up Steel Dragon's wedge. Now Steel Dragon able to cut up the underside of Overvolter. However, it had to back away briefly, and Overvolter taking another shot at the saw blades. It's broken one of them completely off, and has taken shots at Steel Dragon's chassis now. And look at the damage that is piling up. And there goes the other saw blade. So Steel Dragon weaponless. Overvolter now on Steel Dragon's wedge, and it's going to take it to the corner grinder. That was a great attack by Steel Dragon. And now Overvolter getting the tail stuck, but getting away and caving in the front end of Steel Dragon, which now looks like it's screaming in agony, but it's going to take Overvolter back over to the wall. Look how flat Steel Dragon is right now. It's just pinning it to the wall, hoping for some points with the judges, but it's going to have to make it to the judges for that to be a factor. And Overvolter's trying to make sure that doesn't happen, but Steel Dragon's going to take it to another grinder. And Overvolter's going to survive that grinder as well. Ooh, what a shot. That's some control board hits. And I think that's the KO shot at 91 seconds. Steel Dragon tried its best to make use of those corner grinders, but they just didn't do enough damage quickly enough for it. And Valley View up by 3 points, heading into the middleweights. So, middleweight time, Galactic Fabrication for Valley View, a double rear-hinged flipper with no damaging components on the flippers. Kinetic Creatures has Siege, which is a vertical bar spinner that can self-right. So, predictions for Galactic Fabrication and Siege. Can your own weapons do damage to yourself? I don't think they do damage to themselves. Everybody going with Siege in this one. Captain Mantine rethinking his life choices. He's rebuilding the team for next season, so that'll be interesting to see what he brings. Let's see what Siege has for Galactic Fabrication, or if Galactic Fabrication can get a good win here. It had trouble with the floor. It got a lift on Siege, but now its flippers are vulnerable to the spinner, and it's gotten it over against the wall now. It actually might have the height to get it over the wall. Siege is going to have to self-right really quickly here, and Galactic Fabrication's not giving it that opportunity. Although Siege is kind of moving around with the one wheel that makes it to the ground enough that Galactic Fabrication cannot get it to a grinder. But it is over near those walls, and that is a huge element of risk if Galactic Fabrication gets a good flip on it. One of the flipping arms has come off now, and Siege is back upright. This could turn the entire match right here. In fact, there goes the last flipping arm. So now this is Siege's fight to lose, but Galactic Fabrication does have the better wedge. And Siege has been known to fall forward sometimes. In fact, so has Galactic Fabrication, but Siege righted it by accident. Oh, there's a control board hit. And another, but... oh, Siege was able to get the KO on its face. I've never seen a robot face plant an opponent to death, but that is what we got. And that ties the match back up. No, not Sinister. Kinetic. That was a fun fight. That was actually a really fun fight. Kind of went back and forth with it for a while. What's your favorite battle bot? Favorite battle bot is Gladiator. So in the heavyweights, we have Cinnamon, which is a spiked scoop rammer. It's designed to scoop a robot up and over the walls. Kinetic Creatures have Surgical Glory, a sit and spin flail thwack bot, which is invertible. Cinnamon is not invertible. What are your predictions here? Somebody was looking for Spearmint earlier. Cinnamon is the little brother to Spearmint. Could be close. Surgical is hard to keep still. It is, but Surgical Glory is really difficult. It has a lot of difficulty fighting against wedges. It needs to get to the side of robots, and Cinnamon has protection there. So we'll see how it goes, or if Cinnamon knocks itself over, because Cinnamon's known to do that. I think most of the chat's leaning towards Surgical Glory, so let's see how this goes. Surgical Glory, I think, might have the weapon power advantage. Cinnamon has the drive and control advantage, but it doesn't have the floor advantage. Oh, it's gotten Surgical Glory stopped and up against the wall. And it's going to back away and let it stop spinning again. Cinnamon, a very tactical approach here, trying to keep those flails stopped and keep them from getting to its wheels, but then it's fallen over. It tried to ram Surgical Glory against the wall, and it fell over. Surgical Glory going to take a shot at it, but this is going to be a TKO win for Surgical Glory. So, the game says Cinnamon one. However, Cinnamon is completely immobilized and cannot move. Surgical Glory could move if its AI was not being a dipshit at the moment. So, in this case, this is pretty much the only case, the Sit and Spin AI wins. So that is Kinetic Creatures with 2 points. And they lead 5-3, so Valley View can get a knockout in the Super Heavyweights to win the match overall. So, Valley View in the Super Heavyweights has Chemical X with 4 side-hinged fire axes. White Hot has an overhead tri-bar spinner and a huge amount of defensive features around its sides and its front end. So, what do we predict from Chemical X and White Hot? Can Chemical X get through the defenses, or will White Hot take this one? Excuse me. People cheering for Chemical X, people cheering for White Hot. Burnout says Chemical X is tall enough to get hit by White Hot's bar. I don't know about that, but we will see. It looks pretty split, so let's see if Chemical X can come back and get some points here after its embarrassing loss last week. Oh my goodness, look at that huge hit to the front end with those front spikes of White Hot. Chemical X already pouring smoke, and its axes are kind of stalled out by White Hot's spinning bars. Chemical X trying to go around the side, but White Hot just... Whoa, was that a glitch? That might have been a glitch, I don't know. White Hot just has too much defensive work for Chemical X to go through. Or around. Oh, it's actually starting to go through. It's knocked some of the spikes off. And lost its 2 lower axes in the process. It's doing a great job keeping White Hot's spinning weapon stalled against the wall. And now White Hot's got to break a TKO count because it was held still for so long. And now Chemical X with the reach trying to get around to White Hot's chassis. But it is down to just 1 of those axes remaining. And White Hot's got it turned into the grinder now and is taking off wheels. This is a great tactical move by White Hot. It was getting bullied by Chemical X, and it has pushed it into the grinder. It's actually holding it still. Oh, there goes physics. So we have to restart that one. We might have needed to restart it for a pin anyway, but physics took care of it for us. So here we go. Big hit to the front end of both robots. Chemical X is going to try and chop away at those front spikes and push White Hot back to a grinder briefly. Some of the front spikes have come off. Some of the axes are starting to come apart. That bottom right axe. Chemical X doing a great job keeping White Hot's spinning weapon stalled. Actually, 2 of the axes are off now, but I think it's getting through to the chassis. Chemical X might be getting through to White Hot's chassis here. Oh, but White Hot takes the last of the axes off. And now Chemical X, all it has left is those spikes to push with. But it has taken a lot of chassis damage to the front end, and that has killed it. 44 seconds. And Kinetic puts a stamp on that one, 8-3 victory. Well then, it is time for the one that everybody has been waiting for. The part where the game crashes. Go away, bug. as I was saying, the one that we've all been waiting for, the C team, second place overall against Meta, first place overall. So, we have, for the C team in the lightweights, Brickface, which is a sit-and-spin thwack bot with an angled thwacking weapon, a little bit like T-Rex from classic BattleBots. Meta bot builders have Uglybot, which is a pneumatic piston spike. I think both robots are invertible. What are your predictions for Brickface and Uglybot? Depending on how the seeding ends up, this could be a playoff matchup between these two if they're still next to each other in the playoffs. A lot of people with Uglybot. A lot of people with Brickface. I think it's going to be a close fight. But let's see. So Uglybot trying to get in there, and Brickface taking a shot at its side. Both of them with a stupid amount of drive power. Uglybot not really able to get good shots into Brickface's chassis, but it has corralled it into a corner. Brickface being unstable when at full speed is not helping their cause. They've both taken a fair number of chassis hits so far, but now Brickface is stopped, and Uglybot... Oh, it's grabbed a wheel now. Brickface is just kind of throwing itself around, and there goes the weapon. And all of the wheels now. Uglybot has sealed this one up. It's just a matter of how many points they get now. And they're going for all three. There's the KO, 56 seconds. So Meta with the early lead, 3 points up. But now it is time for your main event. It has been 14 weeks in the making. The undefeated 13-0 explicit equation against the undefeated 13-0 Creighton. Explicit equation ranked higher because it has more points earned, but they have the same winning record. So, explicit equation has 4 pneumatic spike pistons. It's invertible. Creighton has 4 rear-hinged flippers. It can self-right. It can also score a ring-out victory. What are your predictions for explicit equation versus Creighton? Lots of people siding with explicit equation. That math is going to win. Math always wins. I'm feeling the same way, but you never know. Both of these robots have had some tough fights recently. And can I just say how thrilled I am to have 2 robots make it this far into the season undefeated before they face each other. That's really cool. And it's not like they've been walkover fights either. They've had some tough fights. So here we go. One of these robots is not going to be undefeated any longer, and Creighton mistimed its flips a few times. It's gotten explicit equation totally over, and now explicit equation up over the wedge again, taking damage from Creighton. Creighton taking damage from explicit equation. Creighton's flipping arms getting out of sync, but it is tossing explicit equation quite effortlessly. And now explicit equation totally upside down. Still stabbing away as it's flying through the air, trying to do as much damage as possible. And look at the state of Creighton's wedge now. Which one of these robots is going to hold up and make it to the end? I love that they're both just swinging away. They're not even, no strategy, just go in and get stuck in. This is great. There goes a wheel. Explicit equation losing a wheel now. It's stabbing away at Creighton's chassis, and Creighton is not able to get the flipping arms synced up and underneath its chassis. Creighton trying to get explicit equation on the grinder. Creighton runs into the grinder and loses a wheel now. Oh no! Both of these robots beating the crap out of each other. And there goes the last of Creighton's wheels. Oh no, physics! We have to restart it now. Oh, that was such a good fight, but we've got to restart. That could have been a knockout if that hadn't happened, so we have to restart. Wow, that was such a good fight. No. All right. Let's try that again. Hold on to your butts. Undefeated robots. Ooh, a good flip by Creighton has put explicit equation on its end. Explicit equation getting some stabs along the way to Creighton's wedge. And now Creighton with the flipping arms out of sync, but underneath explicit equation's chassis. Explicit equation doing damage. Every time it gets anywhere near Creighton's chassis, it is just stabbing away at it. Look at the damage that Creighton is doing, though. And now explicit equation stabbing away at the front end of Creighton some more. Creighton not able to make use of those effective use of those flipping arms until now. With a big misfire there, that could be critical if explicit equation takes off any of the flipping arms here, which it has now done. So Creighton down one of the center flipping arms. And explicit equation is just going to keep stabbing away at it as a result, but Creighton is getting some lifts and getting some damage in place. Another flipping arm's gone. The two center flipping arms are off now. So Creighton is the one taking all the damage here. And the two are kind of stuck together. They're going to have to break a pin, which they do. Explicit equation going after the wheels now. Creighton trying to get around to the side to use those side flipping arms, but it is not working out, and it's lost a wheel as a result. Creighton trying to avoid those spiked pistons, and it has not paid off for them. And it looks like explicit equation is going to get the knockout with 1:14 left on the clock. 14-0, explicit equation. That was a very fun to watch fight. Both of those robots gave it their all, and they beat the crap out of each other. That is all you can hope for in a robot fight. I am not disappointed with how that went. So, Creighton is now officially no longer undefeated. It is 13-1. And explicit equation sits alone atop the middleweights. On a bigger picture scale, that tied the matchup at 3 points apiece. And we go to the heavyweights. So, the C team brings Steel Dragon 2000 to the heavyweights. It's got these overhead claws and these lower claws, and they're kind of really bitey. Classified as overhead axes and rear hinge flippers because it's basically the same mechanisms. Meta brings Psychogenic Harmfulness, a double vertical spinner, which is not invertible. Steel Dragon 2000 has been known to knock some robots over in the past. So, who do we predict is going to win between these two? Steel Dragon 2000 or Psychogenic Harmfulness? Excuse me. Where is Chomp? Chomp is in BattleBots. A lot of people leaning towards Psychogenic Harmfulness. Quora drops in a $10 super chat. Says, I see no god up here other than me. Quoting explicit equation, probably. Yes, that is basically how that works. It is the only undefeated robot in the entire Robot Rampage League across 18 teams. So, yeah, that's probably a pretty accurate quote. most of the chat in favor of psychogenic harmfulness, so let's see what happens. Vertical Spinner versus Grabby Bot. Steel Dragon 2000 known to do damage to the tops of robots with those upper claws. It's taken a big hit from Psychogenic, but it's getting those claws and those bitey things into Psychogenic's chassis and its motors. It's lost both of the upper ones now. So now it's just basically rear hinge flippers. No, it's one rear hinge flipper. Psychogenic taking 3 weapons off of Steel Dragon 2000 immediately. Physics is not happy with them over in that spot in the arena, so I hope they get out of there soon. And Physics is going to knock him over and we'll have to restart. Big collision to start once again. There's smoke coming from, I think, Psychogenic, but Psychogenic has flipped Steel Dragon 2000 over, and it is not invertible. Its wheels are off of the floor, and Psychogenic's trying to get some damage points on those rear armor panels, but those front stabilizers are actually pushing Steel Dragon 2000 away from it. So it's probably just going to push it over to the wall here and then wait for a TKO count. Well, there goes one of the armor panels off. And the second armor panel off. Steel Dragon 2000, of course, still cannot run inverted. Psychogenic just kind of getting damage points to pad its own stats. Because at this point, it could just wait for the TKO count. There's a wheel off. It's going to work it back towards the grinder. If it's not careful, it might right Steel Dragon and put it back in the fight. Not that it's going to be much of a fight. But Psychogenic definitely going for the 3 points here instead of 2. Nope, they're going to back away and go for the 2 points. Don't want to let an opponent back into the fight, which is reasonable. 138 left, so that's 82 seconds. With a TKO win. And that gives Meta the 5-3 lead. So, C Team can get a knockout in the super heavyweights to win the match, and crucially that bonus point. These are numbers 1 and 2 in the league, so they are fighting over the first place seeding in the playoffs. Super heavyweight time. We have Hyagini, an 8-wheel drive rammer that's mostly invertible for the C Team. For Meta, they have Spearmint, a spiked wedge scoop rammer to scoop other robots up and over the wall. Spearmint has a lot of ring outs this season. Predictions for Hyagini versus Spearmint. Razor259 expecting an UDA. We could have a ring out. That's what Spearmint is designed to do. The question is whether it's going to be a Sludgefest ring out or a regular ring out. Most people leaning in favor of Spearmint. Let's find out. Hyagini gets a good shot to Spearmint's wheels, then that could really cripple Spearmint. It's a big shot. It flipped Hyagini over, and Hyagini only has 2 wheels on the ground now, which is those rear 2 wheels. And Spearmint's going to push those wheels in particular into the grinder, and now Hyagini down to just 1 wheel on the rear that's driving it around. And Hyagini's going to put the other one into the, Spearmint's going to push the other one into the grinder. So now Hyagini basically immobilized. That was extremely strategic and useful, extremely effective use of the arena hazards by Spearmint, and it's got to back up to break the pin here. It's going to force a restart. It has broken the pin. Hyagini not getting a TKO count though, but it is taking a ton of damage from this grinder. Now, Spearmint is holding Hyagini off of the floor here. Hygiene cannot move, though, so I'm going to ask Burnout RCT22, who's in the chat. He's my brother, and we run this together. What his opinion if this is a pin or not, because Hygiene cannot drive or move from that position. Hygiene not able to break that, so that is an official TKO for Spearmint. And so now, that is Meta winning the match with 7-3. So Meta conclusively saying that they are first place by taking down the number 2 team. We move on to our next match. Which is the Armchair Engineers against the Orlando Commandos. So the Armchair Engineers are dead last. Only one match win to their name. The Orlando Commandos, I think, are third, if I remember correctly. And they have a lot of draws, so they really need a match win for some bonus points here. So the Armchair Engineers bring Whipwreck to the lightweights, which is a sit-and-spin flail thwack bot. The Orlando Commandos bring Airtime, a piston flipper. Piston physics in Robot Arena 2 are nowhere near like real-life physics. They're missing some of the Newtonian laws of physics, I think. So Orlando's Airtime may or may not be able to self-right with its pistons. Whipwreck is invertible anyway, so what do we predict for Whipwreck versus Airtime? Most of the chat seems to favor Whipwreck for this one. So, let's get it started and see if Airtime has anything for Whipwreck here. Airtime is the lowest scoring robot in the entire league. Oh, look at that big toss from Airtime. Got Whipwreck way up in the air. Whipwreck has managed to knock Airtime over. Airtime has self-righted. Now Whipwreck's going to get that flail into play and then push Airtime towards the grinder, which was a good strategy. Airtime has to take some damage here to get away and then meet Whipwreck's. Whipwreck's getting a TKO count, I think, though. Whipwreck needs to break that. It's wandered into the grinder and lost its own weapon. Whipwreck, what is wrong with you? You need to drive out of there, bro. Whipwreck losing its entire weapon to the grinder now. So Airtime taking a lot of damage. Lost a wheel. Lost a flipping arm now. And Whipwreck is just a push bot. And it's broken off the other flipping arm just with ramming power alone. And if it can knock Airtime over, it might win the match. If it doesn't knock itself over the wall in the process. Airtime's stuck on its front end, which it normally can't if it still has its weapons. There is the TKO count. We're right at the middle point of the match. And that is a 94-second TKO for Whipwreck. I think that might be the most points Airtime has ever gotten for damage in a match, or in a fight. So, Orlando losing 2 points off the Armchair Engineers. They are down by 2. Tamabris, I think, just dropped a super chat during that fight. Hope everyone had a appreciative Christmas, and the sooner in 2021 this pandemic crap is gone, better. Prosperous New Year to you all. A prosperous New Year to you as well, Tamabris. You have been very generous with your super chats this season, and I very much appreciate it. Yes, the sooner that we can be done with this nonsense and it's safe to go around other people again, the better. In the meantime, we get to enjoy virtual robot fighting. And then on Thursdays, real-life robot fighting on TV, because BattleBots is still going. Middleweight time, where the Armchair Engineers have Mini Berserker, which has 2 horizontal spinners on the front. Orlando Commandos come in with Q, a sit-and-spin robot with a bunch of spikes around the perimeter. What are the predictions for Mini Berserker versus Q here? Do you think of Chomp versus Gamma 9? That might be my favorite fight from the BattleBots season. If you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil it. Watch it. Chomp versus Gamma 9 is one of my favorite fights from this whole season of BattleBots. Most people think Q is going to win this if the sit-and-spin AI behaves. So, let's see what happens. Blackbird joining into the chat right in the middle of this. We had our undefeated match off, Blackbird. We're not going to spoil it for you unless you want us to. So, Q is more or less just touching tips with Mini Berserker here for the moment. Mini Berserker trying not to take damage to those weapon motors, but it is losing spikes and taking damage to the motors anyway. Its weapons are really low slung to the floor, so they're not going to go over Q's weapons. They're just going to go right into them. But it has taken a lot of the spikes off of Q, and Q unstable now, but it has broken one of the motors off of Mini Berserker. So Mini Berserker down to just 1 spinning weapon. Trying to get in and get some damage onto Q, but Q is successfully keeping it at bay. And there's the last of the spikes off Mini Berserker's weapons. So Mini Berserker no longer with damaging components, no longer with any motors either, and it has knocked itself over driving too quickly. And so Mini Berserker has fallen upside down and cannot self-right. Q is stuck spinning in place, so it might actually get TKO counted here. But Mini Berserker will be the one that we consider to have lost. 141 left. Yeah, Mini Berserker has been TKO'd because it can't self-right from that position. So that is a win for Q, who got stuck spinning because the motors left a physics hole in its smart zone, the way RA2 works. Well, that is the match tied at 2 points apiece. And so we get to our first multi-bot of the stream. The Armchair Engineers bring to the heavyweights Axis and allies. Orlando brings Drillosaurus. Do I think Chomp's hammer is now more powerful than Beta's? Chomp's hammer has always been more powerful than Beta's. And you know this because when Chomp swings its hammer, it jumps straight up in the air, and Beta doesn't. Even 500-pound Chomp jumps straight in the air when it fires its hammer. Anyway, Axis and Allies versus Drillosaurus. Axis, the front-hinged flipper. Allies, the double vertical spinner. For the Orlando Commandos, they have Drillosaurus with 3 drill spinners. What are the predictions for these 3 fighting? Drillosaurus is the #1 heavyweight in the league right now. Surprising number of people going with Axis and Allies for this one. Quite a few going with Drillosaurus. I think more going with Drillosaurus than Axis and Allies. So we'll see if the #1 heavyweight can take out the not #1 heavyweight multi-bot team. Well, Drillosaurus going for the bigger threat, which is the vertical spinner, but Axis parks itself directly under its wheels, and so now Drillosaurus can't really move. Drillosaurus has taken weapon teeth off of allies. Allies getting to Drillosaurus' wheels, though. Not taking them off or doing any significant damage to them. Drillosaurus is taking all of the weapon teeth off of allies, however. Axe is doing everything that it can to harass Drillosaurus, but has been killed for its efforts. Now Drillosaurus struggling to stumble over the debris and get at allies, who has completely come apart. And I think Drillosaurus is going to end up with a KO here. It's very difficult to get 3 points against multi-bots in the league, because you get, if one of them gets TKO'd and the other gets KO'd, you only get points for the TKO, but that is a KO in 53 seconds. I think that is the fastest that Axis and allies have been KO'd by like a full minute. And that is 3 points for Orlando, so they now lead 5-2. The best that the Armchair Engineers can do is tie, which would still be good for them, because they haven't even had any draws, I don't think. So, super heavyweight time. We have, for the Armchair Engineers, Smashy McSmashface, 5 hammer arms. The robot's designed to look like it was built in Robot Arena 1, because it's got that wedge-shaped chassis. Orlando Commandos have Abrin, which is 4 Warpick-style axes on a box chassis with protected wheels. Neither of these robots can self-right, but Smashy's the one with the wedge. Or at least Smashy has a bigger wedge than Abrin has. Predictions for Smashy versus Abrin. Hammer time. It is indeed hammer time. Or axe time, if you consider every overhead swinging weapon to be an axe rather than a hammer. Most of the chat favoring Abrin. I'm kind of inclined to agree. Abrin hits really hard. Does Smashy get off the wall to start? It does. Abrin attacking the rear of Smashy's hammers, and Smashy's gonna flip Abrin over. Smashy, with a lucky lift on Abrin, is now going to attack it from the underside, and Smashy might get 3 points here. If Smashy gets a knockout, that match is tied. It is just pounding away at Abrin. There's smoke coming out of Abrin now. Smashy not able to get the hammer arms synced up. Abrin's trying to self-right as best as it can, but it's just worked its way to the grinder. There's control board hits. Smashy has scored a KO in 42 seconds. And the Armchair Engineers have avoided defeat. They have tied the match. That is a draw. That is now the 6th draw that Orlando has had. They just cannot seal away these wins. My chat just froze on my my laptop over here, so I'm going to get the next match lined up while that is refreshing. Right, I think I have everything working again over here. Smashy Redemption Arc, yes. Only the second time Abron's been KO'd. Also, yes, it's usually TKO'd. So, our next match is River City Robotics against the Indiana Robotics Alliance. This is Indianapolis against Little Rock, Arkansas. Kind of center of the country teams. River City brings Network, a horizontal low-slung saw blade spinner. Indiana brings the horizontal low-slung spinner of X Factor. What are the predictions for Network versus X Factor? Hey, knock it off. My doggo's being a silly doggo down here. He's too small to pick up and put on stream, sorry. Everybody going for X Factor in this one. Alright, X Factor. Let's see if the chat's faith is in... the chat's faith in you is... I don't know how English works. Just watch the fight. So, Network has gotten X Factor's weapon stalled, but X Factor has been punched by physics after taking one of the motors off. We're just going to let it run. It didn't really affect the strategic outcome of the fight much. The other weapon is now off, and Network is getting its front caved in. There's a motor now, or not a motor, a wheel off. Soon to be a gearbox and motor in that side of the chassis, it looks like. And X Factor is going to seal away a 3-point knockout here, I think. There it is, 45 seconds. All right, so Indiana with the quick 3-point lead to start this match, and we move on to the middleweights. Arkansas is Kansas if it became a pirate. Yes, it is Arkansas. Middleweight version of X Factor would be pretty cool. All right, middleweights, we have Cleansing on River City Robotics, which is a front-hinged flipper with kind of a spike wedge on the front. Indiana Robotics Alliance has the Iron Curtain, which is a wall of defensive plates with a pneumatic spike piston that shoots out between them. It can hit wedges with it, but it is not invertible. So, predictions for Cleansing and Iron Curtain here. These are two OG Robot Rampage bots. We did a Patreon show with Robot Rampage before this, and before that we did a test run of a tournament. And these were a couple of the robots in that very first initial test run of the tournament. These are very old robots. They're from like 2007, 2008? Maybe older than that. Everybody leaning towards Cleansing, so let's see how it goes. And Cleansing has run into the Iron Curtain and knocked it over immediately. It's going to run it into the wall and the grinder, where it's probably going to get stuck. And Cleansing's just going to leave it there to die horribly. Very efficient win from Cleansing here. Unless they want to go for the 3 points, they're going to play with physics, which is playing with fire, I feel. Well, if this lasts for the full TKO count, they've got a TKO. And it does. 34-second TKO for Cleansing. So River City gets back 2 points, but they are still trailing 3-2. Cleansing is newer. Oh yeah, that's right. Cleansing is from, I think, Iron Curtains from before we did Robot Rampage. All right. Up next, we have Jaws of Death on River City Robotics. It's two side-hinged swinging clubs. Indiana Robotics Alliance has Second Amendment, which is an aggressive, fast rammer with its spikes kind of angled down in a little bit of a wedge. Both of these robots are invertible, so that's not a factor. So, predictions for Jaws of Death and Second Amendment. Midnight McLeod, did I miss anything? You missed quite a few matches. We are on to our 6th match of the stream. You'll definitely want to go back and watch the replay of the stream after it is finished. Much of chat is leaning towards Second Amendment for this fight. So, let's see if chat is onto something here. A big hit to start. Second Amendment and Jaws of Death both have defensive and offensive spikes on the front, but Second Amendment has knocked a wheel off to start. And so Jaws of Death has lost even more maneuverability than it was already lacking. Second Amendment's pushed it into the grinder and knocked one of the swinging clubs off. Although Second Amendment's chassis has taken some good knocks from the weaponry of Jaws of Death, whose wheel protection is helping it out here against the grinder. Now Second Amendment going to just ram it into the wall repeatedly, even though it's hitting those defensive rear spikes. Jaws of Death getting a TKO count. Second Amendment, oh! It lost a wheel trying to get free. And so that TKO count is going to count. Because Jaws cannot break that count now. So, Second Amendment with the win. And that puts Indiana up 5-2. So normally, if one of the robots holds the other one and does not let it try to break the 10 count, we consider that a pin and we restart. In this case, Jaws of Death couldn't break that count because it had lost a wheel. So, that is how that works. It is super heavyweight time. So, River City Robotics brings Overseer to the super heavyweights. A low-slung horizontal spinner with a tremendous amount of defensive work up front. Indiana Robotics Alliance brings Black Widow, which is a single drill spinner on the front, and a lot of protective spikes along the sides, and some protective armor over the top. Neither of these robots is invertible. I don't think that's going to be much of a factor. Predictions for Overseer and Black Widow, please. Most of the chat leaning towards Black Widow. Alright. Let's see what Overseer has for Black Widow here. It's had some surprising wins of its own. It's not a particularly damaging robot, but we'll see if that low-slung weapon helps it out here. At the moment, it is being stopped by Black Widow's weapon, and Black Widow's content to try and take the teeth off of it looks like. We'll see which one has the greater durability. They both have to break a TKO count. And Overseer and them charge together, and they're just content touching tips, but Overseer has lost the first two teeth. So it looks like Black Widow's strategy is paying off here. Black Widow got its weapon stuck briefly to Overseer, but it has taken the last of the teeth off Overseer's spinner, and now Overseer, all it has is its defensive work. And Black Widow is free to chip away at it at its leisure. It's actually kind of getting underneath Overseer and lifting its wheels off of the floor here. That's interesting. I didn't expect that. Overseer's got a TKO count going. This is going to be a pin because Black Widow is preventing it from escaping, so we're going to have to restart. So the two of the robots meet in the center, and they're going to touch tips. Although Overseer is trying to get stuck in there a little bit more than Black Widow, who's just kind of waving its weapon back and forth, trying to increase the width of its kill zone, or its strike zone. Overseer's going to back away to break the TKO count first. That was a shot to Black Widow's chassis that Overseer just got there, so Overseer getting that weapon into play if it can get deep enough on Black Widow. But it has lost one of its weapon teeth now on the side spikes, the defensive spikes that Black Widow has. And now more of the weapon teeth coming off. Black Widow being patient to try and stop those teeth from getting to its chassis, and I think it's going to pay off for it. Unless it ends up on top of... Oh, it took the whole disc off. So now Black Widow does not have to worry about the disc or anything. And it's going to get under Overseer here once again. Overseer just with its defensive features left to do anything with. Oh, Black Widow's gotten over to Overseer's chassis now. I don't know if it's actually damaging the chassis or not. And now we've got a pin situation once again. Oh no, Black Widow broke it. Okay, don't have to restart. It's run Overseer into the wall. And it is trying to carve up the underside of Overseer with that drill weapon. Overseer just content to chill up there, I guess, or maybe it just can't move. Black Widow doesn't know what to do about this. Actually, Black Widow might not be able to move with Overseer sitting on top of its wheels. But it does back out and break the count. And it's just going to keep underneath Overseer. Oh, Overseer's managed to get down. And Black Widow's going to go back to chipping away at the front defensive work. "30 seconds remain in the fight. And Overseer's front stabilizers are actually keeping Black Widow at bay for the moment. So I think this one might go to the judges. This is River City using a defensive robot to prevent another team from getting too many points, which is just as useful as getting points yourself sometimes. It is going to go to the judges. It looks like that weapon came off Overseer right at the end. So, Indiana wins that match. River City needed a knockout to tie. It's going to the judges, and that's only worth 1 point. So, regardless of the outcome of that fight, Indiana wins. And they will end up with a bonus point for getting the match win. So we can move on then to the Baltimore Kestrels against Heavy Metal Robotics. First judge's decision of the week. It is. We've gone all the way to the 6th match, the end of the 6th match, to get a judge's decision. Doing pretty good so far. So, the Kestrels bring El Gringo to the lightweights. It is a super compact 4-wheel drive rammer. Heavy Metal Robotics has Voidwalker, which is a 360-degree cage spinner. Voidwalker's not invertible, but El Gringo is. Predictions for El Gringo and Voidwalker, please. Everybody going for Voidwalker. Voidwalker is pretty destructive lightweight. We will see how it goes. El Gringo coming across and taking a shot right away. It is getting through and getting to Voidwalker's chassis, though, and to one of its wheels. This could be vital. I think Voidwalker got a shot to El Gringo's wheels there. El Gringo gets a shot to Voidwalker's chassis, to the wedge there. And now it's lost a wheel, so Voidwalker getting through that wheel and now carving up the side of El Gringo. Oh, but El Gringo took a wheel from it too. So now Voidwalker is losing its mobility here. And against a mobile ramming opponent, that is not a good thing. El Gringo trying to get its spikes into play. Voidwalker's going to break spikes off of it. And now smoke pouring out of El Gringo's front end. Voidwalker not really able to go on the attack here because of its wheel being taken off early. Another big shot there. Gringo's doing what it can, but I don't think it's going to have enough durability to make it to the end. Oh, it's taken one of the spikes off of Voidwalker now. And it's got the weapon briefly stopped. But that's the kill shot. An 83-second knockout for Voidwalker. Well, El Gringo certainly put up a heck of a fight. But couldn't make it to the end. So, in the middleweights, the Kestrels have Drigger. And Heavy Metal Robotics has the Multibot, Heartbreak, and Seance. So, Drigger, invertible, pneumatic piston spike with like a tiger claw kind of shaped weapon on the piston. Heartbreak and Seance are a pneumatic piston spike on Heartbreak and a rear hinge flipper on Seance. They've been a good multi-bot team so far, getting a number of wins, but also not really having the weapon power to really end fights. So, predictions for Drigger and Heartbreak and Seance. Burnout saying Drigger by judge's decision. Expecting this to go the full 3 minutes. A few Razor 259 and a couple others going with Heartbreak and Seance. Well, chat seems to be in favor of Drigger beating the two mini-bots, so let's see what happens here. Drigger does have those big exposed wheels. It's gotten, well, Seance has gotten Drigger up, but that's kind of stopped its teammate Heartbreak from getting any weapon power on Drigger. Although Drigger has taken some damage and has lost one of its defensive spikes, it's lost half of its weapon now. Seance has cut the entire weapon off of Drigger, and now Drigger's just got its defensive hardware attached. And Seance is going to push Heartbreak out of the way to try to get in there, but Heartbreak is trying to punch holes in the front of Drigger now. And Drigger's got nothing. He's just trying to get away. Ooh, a good flip there from Seance, who's just diving in front of Heartbreak's weapon to try to get in there and get the kill on Drigger. He's not flipping Drigger. Now he has. Heartbreak trying to do whatever damage it can while Seance is stuck in there. Drigger is taking a fair amount of damage to the front end here, and it can't move. The multibot has Drigger well and truly stuck to this wall. Drigger did break a TKO count. Oh, and now the multibot is surrounded Drigger. That's a control board hit. That's another control board hit. The weapon flipping arm came off of Seance. But Heartbreak still has that pneumatic spike. If Seance isn't in the way, it might be able to get it into play and get the knockout with 1:14 left. There you go, the little multi-bot team doing the work and getting the 3 points. And so, Heavy Metal Robotics has a 6-0 lead. They cannot be defeated now. The best the Kestrels can do is tie with 2 knockouts. And given Vacuity's defensive nature and making it to the end of fights, I don't think that's going to happen. So, the Baltimore Kestrels have Warbird in the heavyweights. It's 3 rear hinge flippers and these defensive wings of spikes on the sides. Vacuity is an overhead battle axe between these 2 kind of pontoons that are super heavily defended. Vacuity has a reputation for making fights last to the judges and stopping other teams from getting points. What are the predictions for Warbird versus Vacuity? Player name Default predicts a judge's decision. KJ by a ring out, Burnout a TKO, but every one of them in favor of Warbird. Brian has popped up to say Vacuity, so is Speed King. Okay, so a few think Vacuity's got this one, but let's see what Warbird can do to it. I think we might have a stalemate here with Warbird's defensive features and Vacuity's pontoons. Warbird has gotten under Vacuity, but look at the damage Vacuity is doing to Warbird's wedge with that battle axe. Warbird not able to get those flipping arms in sync, and, well, Vacuity was taking advantage, and there goes the battle axe off the top of it. And now, a stalemate. Warbird's flipping arms going wildly because its Smart Zone includes Vacuity, but none of them actually under Vacuity. And those defensive features on the sides perfectly fitting around Vacuity's chassis pontoons. So I think we might have a long stalemate between these two unless Warbird can get underneath Vacuity with those flipping arms, which it kind of did there, but now the flipping arms are up in the air and Vacuity actually pushed it back to the wall. And we go back to the stalemate with Vacuity winning out on the pushing power. How do the weapons break so easy? Vacuity's axe is held by an extender, and extenders do not have very much health. The weapons have a lot of health, but not the extenders. Vacuity gonna push Warbird into the grinder. Oh, just missed the grinder. Warbird got away. Warbird running low on battery power. You can see those flips getting a lot slower. Honestly, this is a very good defensive match from Vacuity to just lock Warbird up and stop it from getting any kind of aggression or damage points here. Vacuity's invertible without the axe, though. Warbird briefly had its flipping arms in contact with Vacuity's chassis, but now they're locked up once again. We've got 30 seconds to go. Warbird's clearly running low on battery power now. One of the defensive spikes has come off of Warbird. It's going to be interesting how the judges score this one, because it's primarily been pushing, with the exception of Vacuity's weapon coming off and doing a lot of chassis damage before it did. Warbird now with one weapon stuck completely in the air because it's got so little battery power. And that is a judge's decision. For obvious reasons, we do not have an active weapon rule in our judging criteria, because of course we have rammers. So it'll be interesting to see how that judge's decision goes, given Vacuity lost its active weapon, but Warbird was never really able to make much use of its active weapons. That is a toss-up, I think. But it does mean the Kestrels cannot tie this match because only 1 point gets awarded for a judge's decision. So Heavy Metal has won the match thanks to another judge's decision Vacuity has forced. Like I said, defensive setups can be really useful in the Robot Rampage League. And now we go to the Super Heavyweights. Player name default says it'll be on Fight Court next week. Shoosh. Do you have any idea how hard it was to get 6 people together for a Fight Court recording in like 3 days' time? Super Heavyweight time. The Kestrels have Berserker, 4 horizontal spinners, 1 on each corner. It's not invertible. Heavy Metal Robotics has Aqua Dementia, a side-hinged flipper, and one of the top super heavyweights in the league. Predictions, please. Aqua Dementia, perhaps by Ring Out. Berserker's a big robot. Ring Out is a possibility, but it's got to get it really far over. Everybody leaning towards Aqua Dementia. Have you considered doing a Fight Court for Robot Rampage? Fight Court involves a lot of effort from a lot of people, so probably not, but I would love to see fan-made Fight Courts of Robot Rampage. That would be great. So here we go. Aqua Dementia and Berserker. Aqua Dementia with no trouble getting under Berserker, but Berserker doing quite a bit of damage to Aqua's chassis as it went under. A lot of those flipping arms are not in sync. And some of the flipping arms, all of the flipping arms have been broken off. I think Berserker might have taken all of the flipping arms off of Aqua Dementia here. It has. There are no flipping arms left on Aqua Dementia. It's not flipping at all anymore. And Berserker still has most of its weapons left. And then Physics got extremely upset about that. So we go again. So, Aqua underneath Berserker right away and tossed it at the wall, but Berserker's really hard to get under its chassis. Aqua Dementia mainly just attacking those front weapons. A lot of smoke coming out of somewhere. I think it's Berserker's weapon, but Aqua Dementia's lost most of its flipping arms here. I think it's still got 1 left. No, it doesn't anymore. Aqua Dementia losing its flipping arms. No, there's still 1 left. Until I say that, of course. Now Aqua Dementia is just a wedge rammer. It's pushed Berserker to the grinder, but Berserker's weapons are still going strong here. And Berserker is going to KO one of the best super heavyweights in the league. Even though it was a flipper, that chassis wedge was very vulnerable to Berserker's weapons, and Berserker took advantage. So, the Kestrels have 3 points for this, and maybe a 4th. But Heavy Metal already had 6, so Heavy Metal has won. Not a big points haul, though, and they are the number 1 in Division 1, so they really wanted more points than just 6. We're going to watch the game crash again. And then we're going to move on to an all Division 1 matchup between Pink Chaos and the Robot Rebels. I clicked the wrong button again because I am a genius. So, Pink Chaos, kind of perpetually mediocre team, with Unprettier in the lightweights with that overhead claw weapon. The Robot Rebels have Overclock, which is a bunch of spikes on a pneumatic piston. They're angled downwards a little bit like a wedge. Predictions for Unprettier versus Overclock. Chat mainly looking at Overclock to win this one. Most people surprised by Berserker stomping Aqua Dementia, as I was. But for the most part, people think Overclock has this one. They might be right, because Unprettier struggles to self-right if it gets knocked over. I think Overclock can technically run upside down. It's not very good at it. Oh, what a shot from Overclock. It knocked Unprettier over and almost itself over. It's trying to do damage to the bottom of Unprettier while they're stuck together like this, and is not allowing itself to come down onto the floor, but now it has. It's pushed Unprettier over to the grinder, and now Unprettier is going to lose its weapon, it's going to lose a wheel, and it's going to lose this fight, I feel, unless physics intervenes. Overclock's going to back up and take the easy TKO. And that is 47 seconds. Definitely needed points for the Rebels, who have fallen all the way down to 8th place, I think. Team that used to be in 2nd back early in the season. In the middleweights, Pink Chaos have Overthrown, a double front hinge flipper. Robot Rebels have Dramatic, a drum-shaped vertical spinner. That is not invertible. Predictions, chat. That was not a pretty fight, and it became rated R18. Yeah. I think that's happened to Unprettier a few times. That we've had a few fights that have gone that way. Like, I'm down to who takes out the weapon first. Yeah, it depends. Overthrown, if it gets deep enough under Dramatic, can flip it over, but the front hinge flippers really struggle to get that deep under opponents, so... Dramatic's also been really good at being a rotary lifter itself. In fact, so far, it's pretty split on which robot's going to win. The Robot Rebels win, I say we celebrate with Jawbreakers. You guys can celebrate with Jawbreakers. Jawbreakers will break my teeth. So Overthrown has collided with Dramatic, not able to get deep under it until then. It almost got Dramatic over the wall, but it's attacking that drum. And that could be dangerous for those fragile flipping arms on Overthrown, who is now taking damage from Dramatic being upside down. There goes one of the flipping arms, broken off entirely. And now Overthrown stuck on Dramatic. And Dramatic is going to turn around and use the drum to attack its underside. So Overthrown pinned against the wall, pinned between a wall and a vertical spinner. Not a good place to be. And Dramatic going to attack the top of Overthrown and try and knock that last remaining flipping arm off. Overthrown's going to knock Dramatic over and lose the flipping arm in the process. So Overthrown down to a wedge. Dramatic with no way to self-right. I think one of the spikes on the drum has come off. Overthrown's pushed Dramatic over to the wall, but that kind of didn't really help them at all. They need to get Dramatic in a spot where they can let it get TKO counted, but not in a way that you will right them again. So now Overthrown got Dramatic back into the match. It's pushed it over to the grinder and knocked the drum off, though. That was a great move by Overthrown to take the weapon out, but Dramatic does still have those stabilizers on the front that act as wedges, and those do damage. They're doing damage to Overthrown's wedge. He's pushed Dramatic back to the wall again, but kind of trying to attack Dramatic's wheel there. Overthrown seems to be in control, or at least in the one that's the aggressor at this point in the fight. But I'm not sure how it's going to look if it goes to the judges, because Overthrown had Dramatic over and it righted it and brought it back into the match. Overthrown's got Dramatic over to the grinder, and it's going to do a lot of damage here, I think. Although I don't know which robot is being cut up, but Overthrown might have driven too deeply into the grinder here. It's pinning Dramatic to the grinder, so will it get a KO before it gets restarted for a pin? And the answer is no. That is a pin and a restart. That was a desperation tactic from Overthrown to force a pin, or force a restart, or get a KO. And we go again. Overthrown not able to get under the drum this time. Attacking the drum and getting damage to its own weapon arms, which it needs to be careful about. Dramatic upside down now. And going to do damage to Overthrown's wedge. Kind of stuck together at this moment, although Dramatic is doing damage all along the way, so this is not a good strategy from Overthrown to just sit here and take damage from Dramatic without firing back. It fired its flipping arms into... Oh, I thought it lost one, but it actually only fired one the second time. Oh, what a good throw by Overthrown. Almost got it over the wall, and now the drum has come off. A wheel has come off on the grinder. Dramatic is in a very bad way here, and Overthrown is going to get the 3 KO points. It bided its time, and it took advantage when it could, and there goes physics. Three points to the pink Chaos team, gives them the lead 3-2 at the moment. As we go to the heavyweights. So, in the heavyweights, Pink Chaos has Panther, a 4-wheel drive invertible rammer. The Robot Rebels have Zika with 3 rear-hinged flipping arms that have no damaging components, so it's a pure flipper. It also has protective scoops on the side to protect the sides of its chassis. So, predictions for Panther and Zika. Panther Fest. I mean, we might get a Sludge Fest out of this. Panther's pretty fast, and Zika's a ramp. Zika also has pretty strong flip with its weapon, so it could get Panther over the wall no problem, even on its own. Most of the chat sees Zika winning this, so let's see what happens with Zika. Crucially, the Rebels are down by a point, so they need a lot of points here. It did not throw itself over the wall on its own. Panther did not. Zika's gotten it up in the air quite a lot here, and it has it into the corner. Has itself into the corner, actually. Panther's going to back up and get itself over to the wall. That's not where you want to be, Panther. That's a bad place to be against a robot like Zika. But now Panther's in a good spot to push Zika into the grinder or get thrown into the grinder itself. Now Zika is going to take damage to those flipping arms from Panther's spikes on the front. Panther bounces off the top of the wall with that flip. And now Panther's underneath Zika and tried to take it to the wall. But it's going to run itself into the grinder in the process. Panther trying to get around the side of Zika. Zika trying to get under those wheels so I can get a good flip off. It's turned Panther over up against the wall. This is a bad spot to be for Panther. Ooh, a good throw by Zika. Breaks the tail off the Panther. Panther tried to go for a ram, but thought against it and ended up colliding with the plow of Zika. Zika's chassis has taken a little bit of damage here. Another good toss by Zika. Oh, the plow on the left side has come off entirely, so Panther is doing damage with these rams. We are halfway through the timed part of the fight. Panther comes charging back in once again. And Zika's got it up in the air once again. Zika not able to get those flipping arms into play correctly. They're all out of sync. And was not able to take advantage of Panther being by the wall. But now it's got Panther on the grinder. This could be huge for Zika. One of the wheels broken off of Panther. So now Panther's drive is hampered immensely. Not going to be able to charge in a straight line anymore. Zika with no damaging weapons of its own, but that could win it damage points with the judges if it makes it that far, unless it drives itself into the wall and loses another plow. Panther stuck against the wall, not able to do anything about this with its hampered drive. But Zika, so far, unable to get Panther to go over the wall. In fact, Zika's driven over the top of Panther now. Zika running out of power towards the end of this fight. Panther breaking one of the flipping arms off. But there's no time left, and this is going to go to the judges with Panther coming down off of the wall. Now, these damage points displayed by the game is damage scored by the weapons attached to the robot. It does not take into account hazard use. So, when it comes to the judge's decision, they're also going to take into account the damage that Zika did with the hazards. And that could be critical to who wins this. But that goes to a judge's decision, and that is only worth 1 point. So, it's either tied 3-3 or Pink Chaos have a 2-point lead, but I think it might be the Rebels winning that one. So this next fight will decide it. Potential fight of the week here. I mean, that was a pretty good fight of the week. It wasn't terribly destructive, but it was two robots whose weapon typing does not really particularly count as a weakness or a strength for either, and they're pretty evenly matched. So that might be a potential fight of the week. We also have, in the super heavyweights, to decide the winner of this match, Dysfunctional Stepsister versus Heart Attack. Dysfunctional Stepsister with 10 rear hinge flipping arms, Heart Attack with a wedge and some spikes over the top of some armor plating. It's a rammer and a pusher with 6-wheel drive. It is invertible. Only 2 of its wheels touch the ground while inverted, though. So, predictions for Dysfunctional Stepsister versus Heart Attack. Lots of people going for Heart Attack for this one. Quite a few going for Dysfunctional Stepsister. It seems split in chat here. Burnout says Zika is a fun robot when it works. Zika is pretty fun when it works. So is Dysfunctional Stepsister when it works, but it's been struggling this season. So what does Heart Attack have for the Stepsister? It's tossed in the air and inverted, and Stepsister is not going to flip it here. Or maybe it is. Dysfunctional Stepsister this season has been bad about getting its flips mistimed just like that. And now Heart Attack, even without the pushing power, is going to get Dysfunctional Stepsister over and control it and push it over to the wall. And I think Dysfunctional Stepsister might be taking some damage to its rear from that. And once again, it is mistiming these flips. But the flipping arms have taken a wedge off of Heart Attack. So if Heart Attack ever does get flipped back over, the wedges will not be there to help it out. Heart Attack, as slow as it is upside down, is trying to press Dysfunctional Stepsister here, who has gotten under it and gotten a really good flip there. But taking damage on Heart Attack spikes and not able to get those flipping arms into play like it really wants to. You have to break a pin count here. And Stepsister is going to park Heart Attack on top of the wall. Heart Attack's going to drive down barely. And Stepsister's going to try and keep it on the wall here. It's taken a wheel off. Taking some of the spike work off. There's smoke coming out of Heart Attack. And now Stepsister really got those spike flipping arms working in its favor. And it's going to get them on top of Heart Attack and mistime these again. Heart Attack, I think, is just trying to get away at this point. Now, Dysfunctional Stepsister back on those spike wedges of Heart Attack, who's now lost yet another wheel. It's 2 wheels off of Heart Attack. Heart Attack has to break a TKO count, and it does. Stepsister running out of battery power. You can see how slowly those flipping arms are all retracting. There's a little over 30 seconds left. One of the flipping arms has come off. 2 of the flipping arms have come off now. Stepsister trying to get Heart Attack back to the grinder, and it has. Of course, that's where Heart Attack has its defensive plow. Stepsister stopping Heart Attack from breaking a count here. And I think that's going to qualify as a pin. I will ask Burnout what he thinks of that, because it was holding Heart Attack in place and stopping it from moving. That's a pin, he says. That's a restart then. Well, Stepsister not as commanding as we thought it was going to be, except in this case where it throws it over in 4 seconds. Well, I'm not going to complain if Stepsister's going to give us a 3-minute fight or a 2-minute and 50-second fight and then a 4-second fight. You know, we got our quota of fight time out of it. So that is Pink Chaos with 5 points to the Robot Rebels' maximum of 3 if they have the judge's decision. Pink Chaos might have 6 if they have the judge's decision. So Pink Chaos wins the match with that ring out. So the Rebels' struggles continue. And we move on to our final match of the stream. Between 2 of the big teams in the league. HIVE Academy, 2nd in Division 1, and Team Smash, which I think just fell to 5th in Division 2. Dysfunctional Stepsister's like, we're not doing this again. No kidding. So, in the lightweights for this final match, we have Jinx, a side-hinged flipper for HIVE Academy. Team Smash has Bubblegum, which is a spiked scoop Rambot, which is not invertible. Predictions for Jinx the Flipper against Bubblegum the non-invertible Rammer. Final match came around quick. Yeah, it's been a relatively fast stream. We're usually around 2.5 hours, and we're just over the 2-hour mark, so we've not had many judges' decisions so far. We've had 2 judges' decisions, or 3 judges' decisions, I think, as opposed to some weeks where we had 10. all of chat going for Jinx. Let's see what Jinx does here against Bubblegum. Let's see what Bubblegum can do to Jinx. Jinx has not been known to have the KO power or to get kill shots when it needs them. Bubblegum has fallen over just from running into Jinx. Its wheels just barely don't touch the ground, so if it's a little bit off of perfectly balanced, it can get traction and move, but Jinx is going in and trying to get damage and try and get... I think Jinx is trying to get the 3 points here for a knockout. Hive wants the points to get the top spot back. They could just let it sit still and get an easy 2 points for a TKO, but they want the full 3. And Jinx is doing a lot of damage to Bubblegum, who is yet to get fully back over until now. Now Bubblegum pushing Jinx back to the wall and going to ram into it again and fall over. And go right up the wedge this time. Jinx driving very, very smartly and very well controlled here against Bubblegum, who's backed into the grinder on its own. Jinx is just pressuring Bubblegum and getting it to make its own mistakes. Oh, but Bubblegum has steered Jinx into the grinder now, and Jinx is going to get out of there. And Bubblegum trying to do that steer into the grinder tactic again. I think Bubblegum's realized that's its best strategy here, but now it's lost a wheel to Jinx's flipper, so this is not going to turn out well for Bubblegum unless it can do a lot of damage to Jinx very quickly. That spiked scoop does do some damage, but not as much as it would if Bubblegum were able to run into Jinx with full force. Jinx is going to push Bubblegum into the wall and get it to stop moving. Ooh, it got under it and got a big shot, and now there's smoke coming out of Bubblegum's chassis. 40 seconds to go. Jinx may have wasted an opportunity for a TKO win here if it's not able to get it here in the next 30 seconds. Bubblegum too mobile, I think, to... Oh, it's driven itself up the wall and flipped itself over. Nope, it's gotten traction and moved, so I don't think Jinx is going to get the TKO here. This one is probably going to the judges, and that will be Jinx's loss because they had 2 points locked up early on. So, Hive... Oh, no! Did they get the KO? Oh, my goodness. I was just about to start writing results down, and Jinx got the KO at the last second. I think there was 4 seconds left in the fight. I was about to say Hive getting greedy and being punished for it, but they got greedy and got the 3 points out of it for it. Well then, that had to be making the managers at the Hive team just sweat bullets, like, oh no, we went for the KO and we're going to lose all the points, and then they got it at the last few seconds. That's pretty crazy. So now we have Gizmo versus Planetary Conqueror in the middleweights. Gizmo is an aggressive four-wheel drive rammer similar to Sludge. Planetary Conqueror is an overhead bar spinner with a huge amount of drive power and a wedge. Planetary Conqueror is not invertible. Will that play into account in this fight? We don't know. Let me know what your predictions are for Gizmo and Planetary Conqueror. Chance for a Sludgefest here. There is a small chance for a Sludgefest. A lot of people going for Gizmo for this one. A lot of people going for Planetary Conqueror. We will see how it goes, because chat is split. Planetary Conqueror not even able to get up to speed before Gizmo rammed into one of its front wheels. But Planetary Conqueror has gotten that overhead bar spinner into Gizmo's chassis and taken a wheel off, and it is doing a lot of damage to the front end of Gizmo, who's caved in Planetary Conqueror's wedge. So Planetary Conqueror not getting the big concussive shots on Gizmo, but is doing damage over time and taking wheels off and limiting Gizmo's mobility. Look at the damage that Conqueror's doing to the top end of Gizmo. It's going to get a KO here, I think. And there it is. 47 seconds for Planetary Conqueror. And that is Team Smash tying the match up. And we go to the heavyweights with a tied match. This one should be pretty good. So we have Mammoth for the Hive Academy, 4 Warpick style axes, 2 overhead axes, 2 side axes. Mammoth is a very tenacious robot that's come from behind to win a lot of fights. Team Smash has Bioshocker with a double vertical spinner and protective spike work on the front corners. Who do we predict to win between Mammoth versus Bioshocker? Worth noting, neither of them are invertible. Aggressive versus gutsy, that is true. Well, Bioshocker's not been as aggressive as Psychogenic Harmfulness, I don't think. I think Bioshocker's been the least aggressive of the vertical spinners. A lot of people looking for Mammoth here. Mammoth could take out the weapon motors of Bioshocker. We don't know. But chat seems to be leaning in favor of Mammoth here. So let's find out what happens. Bioshocker up to speed. Mammoth getting those weapons, those overhead axes into play, getting the side axes into play, but not able to get too deep onto Bioshocker until then. It took out one of the vertical spinners, lost its right side axe in the process, lost the left side top axe in the process. And now the other top axe is gone, so Bioshocker running on one vertical spinner. Mammoth with no axes remaining. It's just its defensive work. How is Mammoth going to manage this one? It's taking a lot of damage to the front end. I'm not sure if Mammoth can pull out a victory here, but it has done surprising things in the past when down weaponry. Bioshocker with smoke coming out of that remaining vertical spinner. And Mammoth actually not able to push Bioshocker here. And Bioshocker's got Mammoth back towards the grinder. Mammoth getting briefly stuck on some defensive spike work that's broken off the front end of Bioshocker. So Mammoth's defensive work was doing some damage. It's knocked a tooth off of that spinning disc, which means it'll be unstable if it gets up to speed. But look at the front end of Mammoth and how it's been caved in. Halfway through the timed part of the fight. They've got to break the pin, which they both do. It allows Bioshocker to get up to speed and get a control board hit. And the knockout with 1:15 left. And that is the lead, and 3 points to Team Smash, who is now up 6-3. So, HIVE Academy needs the Super Heavyweights to tie. Oh my. the two piston boys. So, the last fight of the stream, the last super heavyweight fight, and what is going to decide whether this match is a smash win or a tie is HIVE. Double length piston poking weapon on HIVE. ID for Team Smash has 4 racks of spikes on pneumatic pistons. ID is invertible, HIVE is not. HIVE does have a lot of defensive work up front. What do we think is gonna happen here? Just a couple rowdy, spiky boys. Glitches as far as the eye can see. Yeah, we might have a number of restarts here. We haven't had a whole lot of restarts this stream so far, so we might get it all in this one fight. Chat is predicting mainly glitches. They haven't really predicted robots so far, although they seem split so far. Well, let's find out who wins this match. Big collision to start. ID pushing HIVE back to the corner, and then both of them went to another dimension. So those of you that called physics to win this fight are correct. Another big impact. It looks like HIVE has lost some of its spikes. Its pistons are freaking the fuck out as they're retracting. ID is punching through HIVE's armor and then sent it to space. We could be here a while. Two robots come together in the middle of the ring, and they've pushed HIVE back against the wall, and ID has gotten underneath HIVE. Okay, that's a little unexpected. They're just kind of sitting on top of each other. I wasn't calling that. It looks like HIVE has lost at least one spike off of its weapon, and some of its defensive armor off that right front corner. ID, trying to break a TKO count, has run itself into the grinder. HIVE is not yet down on the floor, and ID is going to drop it on the grinder as well. They're both just playing with this grinder, and then HIVE has gone to space again. So if you're wondering, can you put pistons on top of other pistons in the Robot Rampage League for next season, the answer is no. We're not going to allow it because this shit keeps happening. ID has lost some spikes off those left side pistons and has taken a lot of chassis damage from HIVE, but HIVE has lost 4 of its 6 spikes and its protective front armor and is stuck on top of the grinder at the moment. There's not a lot of chassis for ID to strike, but HIVE has got to be able to get off of this grinder or flip itself over using the power of physics. ID has just lost its whole weapon in the grinder now. I think we're going to get a pin? Question mark? ID is backed up to break the pin. HIVE has broken the count, I think. ID only has one weapon left. One single spike left on ID. HIVE cannot get away from the grinder. Please get TKO'd so that we can end this physics nightmare. A wheel's come off of HIVE as well. And that's it. The fight's called. 60 seconds. ID has won by TKO. And so, Team Smash takes a definitive 8-3 victory over HIVE, who really wanted a lot of points so they could catch back up to Heavy Metal in Division 1, but they did not get them. So, that is going to conclude our matches for the stream. What did everybody think of that for an after-Christmas Robot Rampage stream? Had some good fights. I'm so pleased that Creighton versus Explicit Equation was an amazing fight. I was just terrified. We're going to have these 2 undefeated robots, and then it's going to be a squash match, and it's over quickly. That was great. We had some really good fights. We had some good judge decisions. They weren't just microwave fights this time around. Very cool. It'll be interesting to see how the standings look after this, because HIVE is not doing so well anymore. Meta has definitely taken over as the leader, for sure. And Explicit Equation stands alone as the only undefeated 14-0 robot. So, KJ says, hope you like that little gift I sent you, Mike. If you sent me something, I didn't see it, probably. I apologize for that, because I'm watching the fights trying to do commentary. I can go back and see it when I watch the stream later. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for the stream. Thank you for all of your support for the Robot Rampage League at the end of 2020. I'm glad I was able to provide some sort of entertainment and enjoyment for you guys at the end of this really, really shitty year. I hope everybody has a good remainder of the holiday season, and when is our next stream will be on the 2nd of January. Yeah, so it is going to be 2021 that I see the rest of you back here again. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your super chats. Thank you for everything. Have a good rest of your 2020, and I will see you next year.